Hi everybody and welcome to the Property AI Reports. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, brought to you by me, Mal McCallion, with Shantahat and Matt Goddard with a very fetching wreath around your neck. You look like you're being served up on a table.
I need an apple in my mouth, don't I? It's like a squealing pig, suckling pig at some sort of medieval banquet. I think it's actually going to hurt to take this off. Thanks very much, Mal.
It was a good idea at the time, right? Yeah, out. Anyway, while you're doing that and scratching your face, we are here to talk about your weekly digest of all things property and AI. So we have got so much to get through this week. It's insane. So we're going to dive in right now to our property news. All right, first up, some big news. Global significant news. Google is getting into the portal wars game. This was a story from Mike Del Prete, who is a commentator over in the States, spotted that essentially Google had started to include listings within its search results. Okay, now those with a long memory might remember back in 2009, Google introduced its Google Maps and had mapped with properties on it. And that was kind of, that was a big deal at the time. Now, they didn't quite make it work at that stage, but they've come back just now and they're partnering with a company called House Canary over in the States. And it's a trial. But essentially what it does is if I type into Google, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house, in Clerkenwell, then it will go off and it will find those and it will bring them back. Now, again, over in the States, slightly different. They've got the MLS, the multi-listing service, whereby all of these listings are available to absolutely anybody. So in the UK, it will be slightly different. But obviously, Google's got the reach to be able to pull in data from pretty much everywhere. So, Matt, this is quite significant, I think, for the traditional portals in particular, because if Google can find all your properties without you having to worry about paying Rightmove, then that clearly impacts their business model. Their share price was down again, I guess, on Monday on the back of this. But yeah, what's your kind of take on this?
An interesting part for me, for those that haven't seen the screenshots, is actually these are coming up as sponsored links, aren't they? And so it's in terms of, there's been obviously a lot of conversation over the last year in relation to this sort of Google search real estate and where the Google AI overviews sit and sponsored links and various bits and pieces. So to see these coming through from House Canary and as sponsored links at the very, very top, very much like a listings carousel, it almost feels inevitable. I know it's a case of, it didn't work the first time, they were never going to come back. But we've sort of seen through Meta as well with the Facebook marketplace. There are people who've got property listings on there and it's never quite taken off. But so social media and digital is sort of the bit of the juggernaut that's sort of been waiting in the wings. I think it'd be naive to say, they were never going to do this. But it's how much is House Canary actually paying to do these sponsored links versus it being almost a Google Labs type approach.
Yeah, so they are saying very explicitly that they're partnering with Google, or Google is saying it's partnering with House Canary, so which is slightly different to our next story, which we'll come to. But yes, I think that it is, if this is just for sponsorship, so, I've got a 3-bedroom property in Clerkenwell and therefore I can sponsor it to put it up there, then obviously that kind of opens up, right, is CoStar going to try and take these slots? CoStar and so On the Market and Zoopla back in the day were big on Facebook Marketplace and actually distributing properties that way. But one of the things that in the end kind of railroaded that was the fact that it was also in amongst for sale by owner properties and to let by owner properties. And I think that is a real, if you are looking, if I'm looking at this at the kind of end of 2025 and going into 2026 as an agent, what this tells me, and again, we'll come on to another story that's actually involves Disney later, about content. Okay, about your property content, the stuff that you've gone out and created. 2026, you are going to have to make decisions about where you put that. Okay, because everybody is kind of fighting for it, whether it's Google, whether it's Rightmove, whether it's OpenAI, whoever, and that I think gives agents a real power and real control, and perhaps more than they've had in a hugely long time. So yeah, I think that this is interesting. I don't see it working exactly the same way in the UK. Because we don't have the MLS system, so we don't have every property available. It will be part stock, part portfolio kind of deal, and basically you'll kind of choose almost on a property by property basis, I would imagine. But yeah, it's another it's another big move, I think, and it's another just evidence that things are really, really changing, and I think that's hugely exciting from an Asian point of view for sure. All right, next up, we wanted to go to Foxtons. I think this is a great story. It's from this morning. We're recording on the 17th, Wednesday. Foxtons has launched its new an air miles scheme for vendors and for landlords. So you can actually get some Avios points if you sell your property with them or you let your property through them. I love this story. I think it's just so creative and so brilliant. And I just think that they're going to win quite a lot of business from their target audience on the back of this. What do you think about
it's another initiative that makes Foxtons a differentiator, doesn't it? It's I always remember when we used to open new offices and we'd run the 0% for the first 3 months, and I think it's one at North Finchley we opened, and we had something like 167 listings before we'd even opened the office, because we were offering that 0% across the sales market. And obviously Peter continued that, Marsh & Parsons, but to have that initiative, especially when you're on someone's couch discussing the various differentiators, like here's something you can crack on with. I thought I saw something that said it was actually only going to be available on house sales. It was a limited offer on running to the 31st of January 2026 for house sales in certain branches. But even so, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I was speaking to one of the Dubai-based companies this morning, and I was saying we should probably look at doing something similar with Emirates, and to have Foxtons doing the Avios is very clever.
It's really, really good. And what it speaks to is these guys understand their audience, right? So they have looked at, right, who are the sellers, who are the landlords, and what do they do, what do they love doing, and what's important to them. And, for a certain segment of the market, getting Avios points, being gold card members and doing all this sort of stuff is really, really important because they travel so much, and it gives you access to lounges and all that sort of stuff. I think it's brilliant. And again, just those listening, what this tells you is if you understand your market really, really well, go find something that they really love. Go, really understand what their habits are, what they really, really care about, and then partner up with them, and then they will flock. So that's another great piece of property news. And we did then just want to dip back into the world of portals. We've got Jitty launching their neighborhood features filter. So again, interesting kind of maneuver from another of the kind of young portals coming through. These guys also backed by REA Group, who have also been in the news over in Australia because they've claimed, bless them, that they've got a partnership with OpenAI, and that this was a big story from that Elite Agent kind of news site, which is something akin to a estate agent today, isn't it?
It is, yeah, that and real estate business investment. But as you say, the fact that REA will come back to Jitty, but the fact that REA are claiming to have partnered with OpenAI when actually what they appear to have done is embedded a couple of new features that use ChatGPT in the background. I think one's natural language search, and the other one's to get an idea of the value of your home based on the current market trends. So to say his partner, and I don't see Sam Altman referenced anywhere in the press release, but
he did he?
No, but at the same time, at least they are adopting some AI in there. I don't know if it took 85 million off their share price making that announcement either. But I really like what Jitty have done, and Graham, didn't they take investment from Google as well early doors?
They did, actually, yeah. They're another one of our stories in the property news today.
So it's all interlinked. It's very incestuous, our industry. But like Jitty being able to say things like a 3-bed within 90 minutes of Paddington with an open plan kitchen near a good primary school and a great pub, or even just near good nurseries. That sort of local neighbourhood data. And you give that as an example, don't you, when you're talking about AI? It's always ballroom dancing classes, which don't seem to make Jitty's press release here.
Can't believe it. Yeah, listen. So again, I think that the tech and the development and the progress and people talking about this is how people are going to be searching, I think is really important. I was quite interested in actually, is it Jitty's kit that's actually being used out in REA Group now? Do you know what I mean? It's like, because they kind of announce these things almost at the same time. But also, with the OpenAI thing, the REA thing, it just, what it tells me is that they are traditional portals are constantly looking to now kind of co-opt AI into what they're doing and kind of use it as we're partnering with OpenAI, even though all they're doing is just using OpenAI's, chatbot with a wraparound that says REA. In the same way as I am using, I'm partnering with Apple because I'm using a MacBook right now. It's like you're just using their tech. Anybody could use their tech. It's not a partnership. But yeah, this is what's going to happen. That the traditional portal is going to try and bolt on these AI things as features, and just everything just stays the same. But to the Jitty model, I think that and what we're doing in my portal is very much right. You can natural language search, vibe search for your property. Without these kind of filters and things like that. And I think that's going to be a fundamental change going forwards. But anyway, lots and lots and lots of stuff developing there as well. Always good to see how the new technology is being deployed. But that is it for our property news this week, because we've got absolutely tons of AI and tech news. All right, OpenAI is the big news this week. They have been firing back at Google because Google has gone and basically usurped them on all of the benchmarks. So now OpenAI has come back with GPT 5.2. This is on the back of what we reported last week about the code red from OpenAI CEO Sam Altman to basically say, Google has overtaken us. We've got to get back. So 5.2 is back at the top of the benchmarks. So it's really, really good. It's not noticeably good. I've been playing around with it quite a lot. It's great, and Gemini 3 is great. So we're kind of getting to that really brilliant stage where this competition is just delivering amazing technology and amazing intelligence to us. But there's also something that dropped this morning as well, Matt, right, on the image side.
Well, there is, and we'll come back to Chestnut and Hazelnut as they were codenamed in a moment. But I found with 5.2, specific use cases are a lot stronger, not necessarily versus Gemini, but versus what had come before. So a 5.2 around presentation generation. That's not easy to say, is it? And spreadsheets. So those areas that are much more, I guess, enterprise in a way, where I would previously relied on Manus to generate them. Those specific use cases, 5.2 is stronger. Definitely, obviously, Gemini's still got Nano Banana behind it, which was the code name originally for their image model. So the slides that come out in the presentations are really strong. And whereas this latest one, so I guess the point on that is on 5.2, if anyone's not tried it for, you've got a slide deck you got to put together for an end of year presentation, maybe you've got your review to sit down with your director and you want to pull something together, then try 5.2 in terms of that generation if you've got access to it. And specifically around the spreadsheets and making sure that the Excel that you're getting with the various calculations in there, it's got a lot more consideration around there. I've actually found 5.2 thinking to be a lot deeper, I think is probably the way of putting it. But I know you've been a bit of a Gemini fan for the last few weeks, so maybe it's the sort of you've shifted and you need to ditch to that Apple MacBook Pro you just spoke about and get some sort of Android-based product. But the image generation was codenamed Chestnut and Hazelnut, and it doesn't sound like they're going to get adopted like Nano Banana did, because it's out there now, isn't it, the image? And I've not had a chance to play with it, but you have, and you're a bit underwhelmed.
Yeah, so our next story is about Disney and stuff. So I thought, like one of the test beds that I use for most image generators is the ident for this, for our podcast every week. So what
am I Darth Vader? No,
this was it. So I thought the funniest thing to do would be to go and ask, because just to flip on to the next story. So Disney has signed a deal with OpenAI to allow OpenAI to use all of its IP. So all of its, Marvel, Star Wars, all the Disney stuff, obviously, loads and loads of different characters inside its image generator and its video generator. All right, and it's only for the next year. Okay, which is really interesting. They've taken $1 billion stake in OpenAI as a result, and they've licensed these individual characters out, not the actors, just the characters. So I thought, right, all these things are coming together. Why don't I try the image generator with Disney characters and just get it to imagine who would be the most appropriate Disney character for me and for Matt? And I sent it off, and it came back, and it went, I can't do that. And I'm like, but you've got this deal. I actually sent it a link, and it went, yeah, no, that's not for now. That's like for next year. I'm like, okay. So anyway, next year we'll be doing
Sora's the big one, isn't it? So that people create Disney content for it. And I think part of it is once Sora, which is the video generation, what would you call it, model app from OpenAI, that you can start generating and creating, because Sora's really taken off, hasn't it? Where people are sort of producing these ideas and then they're spinning off from there, and they actually have in-house creatives, and the the idea that you can generate your own. It might be I'm thinking Marvel, so Spider-Man versus Darth Vader in some sort of WWE style fest, and then Disney plan on actually publishing that content out on Disney Plus as well as almost its own streaming channel, which I don't think I'll necessarily watch, but there's been a proliferation of Sora content, hasn't there? Even I've been forwarded stuff where people have thought it was real and it's actually Sora, and you can see the watermark in there. But have you?
I'm still trying to get on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, outside of the US, no one can do it.
Exactly. Every single week before this podcast, I'm like, right, I wonder if Sora 2 is available. It's not available. And just to kind of circle back on the actual the tech itself, it does seem good, from an image generation point of view. It's really good. It's relatively fast. It's not as fast as Google, but yeah, look, I just think it just speaks to how fast everything's going. I think it's a chunk cheaper as well. I think than even 5.1. So again, it's just everything is moving so fast. It's getting so much cheaper. Intelligence is going to be part of our lives, because we're going to be using it for so much. Yes, this is a really good moment. If you're not already, you've got a bit of downtime over the Christmas, then do just kind of dive in, start playing around with it, start creating some random images. You're very welcome to use the ones from me and Matt off the podcast if you want. But yeah, look, there's so much going on there, and it's really good to spend some time getting involved. Also on this Disney story and the OpenAI story, Disney has also hit Google with a cease and desist on all of its characters. So you could, on Google Gemini, create images using the likes of Darth Vader and other Disney IP. Disney has sent a massive legal letter to Google, and all of a sudden Google has managed to stop them from being created. So that's another lesson there. And I think that this, again, speaks to, if you have content, all right, and every agent listening will be creating content every single day about property, then really start to think, because this is interesting from almost like the Netflix point of view. So Disney and all of the others sold their kind of content to Netflix, and Netflix basically built itself up on the back of, first of all, kind of borrowed content or rented content, then started to build their own ones, and then became a competitor to Disney. And now, Netflix is worth however much it's worth, billions, and is taking over Time Warner, isn't it?
Yeah,
trying to. So this content is so important, and Disney's now looking on, going, actually, those guys have now built loads of stuff off the back of our IP. So now they're trying to reclaim a bit of it and trying to crowbar a billion of investment in OpenAI for just a year of licensing. So these are the things that content is king. And always will be, right? We humans, we crave content. We just love to see new stuff. So just be very thoughtful about your content, about where you're putting your properties going forwards, because I do think it's going to be a significant battleground going forwards.
It's that domain authority that comes with your content as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Exactly that. Right. Next up, we're still going to talk about Google, because Google has got a couple of stories. It's really interesting. Like, historically, whenever Google released something, OpenAI would fire back, and then and that would be it. But now it's like they're almost trading blows. Now they're kind of saving things so that then they can go and do something else. So Google has announced its AI glasses are expected next year. Meta has got its Ray-Bans out there. There are a few other ones trying this, but yeah, Matt, you'll remember that Google did its Google glasses back in the day, didn't they?
Yeah, it feels a bit like the first story at the top, doesn't it? In terms of suddenly we've got Google doing property listings again. Well, this is harking back to I remember summer of 2024. A certain Mr. Simon Whale managed to buy a pair of these, and I'm sure he was. If he knew how to demo reap it, he'd probably been trying to demo reap it on them. But instead, he just was wearing glasses for a few days, and then they obviously got binned off as it started 2015. So it's good to see them coming back. Obviously, it was inevitable with the way that the latest Ray-Ban release came along, wasn't it? With that little screen in the bottom right-hand corner, and it was quite earlier in the year they'd said who they were partnering with, because a lot of it's to do with just the form factor of whether you feel you look okay wearing them.
Yeah.
So are you wearing some? You're not, are you?
I've been recording this for the last 5 years. So no, yeah, it is I think it's really interesting. I think I'll definitely be getting my hands on some along the way. But it's going to be interesting to see how they compete. Obviously, Meta's got these deals with Oakley, with Ray-Ban. I'm sure they're trying to tie up some others. But yeah, it's going to be a good space for people to get into. But obviously, then there's privacy issues. Actually, how do you know that somebody's recording you or not recording you? Are people recording you on their, there's rings out there now. There are, your watch, your phone, everything's going to be recording. So there's going to be some privacy challenges as we go through. But yeah, again, I think from a technological point of view, it's really, really good, really interesting. Other Google stuff, again, they've just been throwing rocks back at OpenAI. So Google Translate now lets you hear real-time translations. And that, again, is just a phenomenal piece of technology. Matt, you were quite excited by the Disco, Google's Gemini-powered tool for making web apps from basically your browser.
I was, yeah, it wasn't just because the name inspires, obviously, throwback to the 90s, 80s, and also salt vinegar crisps at service stations. But the idea that Disco has got that from your open tabs, you can then use it as a code studio to actually produce apps on the fly. So if you've got all your tabs open about what you're going to be doing for your Christmas break and where you're going on what days and what activities you can actually use the tools within Disco to actually generate an app that you can then share with people. So it's sort of vibe coding, but based around your Chrome browser. So it's interesting to see where they're coming along with them. And there was real-time translations also got announced, didn't it? So it's, as you say, Google have become really clever rather than sort of waiting for a big event and then throwing stuff out there. Obviously, they did put out stuff out at their big I/O event, but it was stuff that was ready to go immediately. And now they sort of knew that OpenAI were going to do this almost 12 days of shipmas like they have done in the past. Instead, OpenAI like, here's 5.2, and Google are just like, well, here's 4 or 5 other great things that we're doing at the same time.
Yeah, I always think that anybody listening on kind of 1.5 or 2 speed on this, when they hear us say shipmas, we probably need to really just spell it out.
I was enunciating.
You were as well, but I still think on that speed, people are going to pick it up. So it's SHIP. Again, just for everybody there. All right, even more news for Google. They are telling advertisers it's going to bring ads into its Gemini platform. Now, there was a bit of a controversy that we covered last week about OpenAI. Suddenly, these what appeared to be ads for Peloton were appearing in people's responses to completely unrelated requests or conversations. But Google's been very clear with its advertisers that basically ads are coming into Gemini. So you will see alongside your answers to what should I be doing this weekend, some ads for things like that. Again, what does that mean for the property market? You will start to see ads alongside, just like you do in Google Natural Search. You see ads alongside it. Agents are going to be incentivized to perhaps, try and buy their way into responses for Gemini and then for OpenAI as well. So, I think from a consumer perspective, that could be quite tricky and a bit clunky. And, we're all going to have to get used to trying to work out whether the ads actually influence the results. And is that problematic? And actually, what's the real answer to this question? But yeah, I think that's the fact that this is coming is probably no surprise, right?
We've been expecting it, although most of the time we've spoke about it, it's around OpenAI and when they were going to do it, how they were going to do it, if Pulse, which was one of their apps that they launched earlier in the year, if that was going to be a vehicle for getting these ads. We should have known Google were obviously going to do it, given the amount of revenue they make. And at the same time, the expectation that we could continue paying nominal fees for these tools and the large language models. They need to make revenue elsewhere. They can't continue doing these huge raises, can they? So that expectation will come, and I assume there'll be some form of ad-free usage as well, like we now get with the streaming services.
Yeah, exactly that. All right. So moving away from OpenAI and Google, SpaceX is reportedly planning an IPO in 2026 at 1.5 trillion, which apparently means that Elon Musk's stake, which is something like 350 billion, would on its own make him the world's richest man. So add that to the amount of money he's already got. I think we're pretty much anticipating our first trillionaire in the not too distant future. But talking about the tech and about the kind of build towards this, SpaceX has been doing some amazing things for a long time, right?
Well, SpaceX is the one who's going to help us set up the server farms on the moon, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, so there'll be plenty more for them out there. Quickly then on to our Architects of AI story, which is Time. Every year does its Person of the Year, and it's a little bit of a cop-out this year because it's got People of the Year, and it's calling them Architects of AI. So this is a number of individuals who are on its cover for December. It includes people such as Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, AMD's Lisa Su, Dario Amodei from Anthropic, Google DeepMind's Demis Hassabis, and World Labs' Fei Li. So yeah, they're all architecting AI. That's basically why they all appeared on this cover, right?
And the cover's great, isn't it? It's a riff on that classic American beam being held. I guess it's above New York, where they're all sat.
When they were building the Empire State Building, I think.
That's it. So they're all sat on the beam of when the Empire State Building is being made. I'm assuming they've used AI to build the image, and there's been some memes off the back of it as well, hasn't there, in terms of the people who are slightly negative towards these individuals. But as you say, it's a bit of a cop out. But who else would you choose?
Yeah, really interesting. All right, that is our AI and tech news this week. Let's have a quick look at our tool of the week. All right, Matt. So, feeling festive? I imagine you're always pretty festive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Easter, Halloween, Christmas, festive for everything.
So there is now an AI Santa that you can go and talk to, Matt. You can tell him, all of your wish list for this Christmas. It's at santa.tavus, TAVUS.io. So santa.tavus.ai. And basically you just go there and there's Santa waving away at you. It says Santa's calling. You can then answer his call, and you, possibly your children, definitely Matt, can then chat and explain just how good you've been this year and what you hope is going to come down the chimney. So yeah, look, we always try and do something that's going to be really helpful for you and your business. Not sure this necessarily qualifies.
Hand it out to the team. There's no Christmas present, but you speak to Santa.
Secret Santa is over. 2025. Just go have a chat with this guy, see what happens. Santa.tavus.io. Go have a little play with that. We're going to dive in as well very quickly to our weird AI of the week. So this is all about an AI that turns chicken feathers into cashmere. All right. So for those, who worry about, the fact that their cashmere is becoming perhaps a little less soft, as apparently it's the underbelly of the goats, very specific goats that provide this cashmere, and you can only really sort of shear them twice a year, but because of the demand, it's starting to be a little bit problematic. So now AI is here with a company called Everbloom that essentially is going to use chicken feathers to create something just as soft. And it's received something like 80 million to get on and do that. So again, just a really interesting way that AI is kind of is changing how we create stuff, particularly in the world of clothing. All right, that is all we've got time for this week. It's been pretty much a rocket through a lot of deep conversations around AI, property, all that sort of stuff. So Matt, listen, thank you as ever for being there. Got a busy week on the cards?
I do, but it's only one more pod till Christmas, Mal. Are you excited?
Man, I'm super excited. And we were talking earlier on before we came on air that we're going to do after next week's one. So this is 57. We're going to do 58 next week. And then 59 is going to be essentially a review of the year. So we're going to drop that between Christmas and New Year. So we try and summarize all of the things that's happened, look back, and then maybe give a little bit of an insight into 2026. So yeah, we'll drop that the week after next. But yes, next week, maybe it'll be a bit less busy. What do you think?
No chance.
No chance. All right, well, listen, guys, thanks so much for being there, for listening in. We will catch up with you again next week. I'm looking forward to that very much. All the best. Take care.
Take care, everyone.